An unlikely king better is a poor and wise youth than an old and senseless king who will no longer take advice. For this youth shall come from the house of prisoners to reign, even though in his kingdom he was born poor. I saw all the living who walk under the sun, and they were with the youth who will be established in the king's place. There was no end of all the people over whom he was made king, yet those who come afterward will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and is the choice of one's spirit. Draw near to God, walk carefully when you go to the house of God. And draw near to hear, rather than to offer the sacrifice of senseless men, for they do not know that they do evil. Do not be hasty with your mouth, and do not let not your heart be quick to utter a word before God, for God is in heaven, and you are on earth, therefore, let your words be few. For a dream comes in a multitude of distractions, and the voice of a senseless man is with a multitude of words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for his will is not in senseless men. So pay whatever you vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not pay. Do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin, and do not say in the presence of God, it was a mistake. Why should God be angry at your voice, and destroy the work of your hands? For in a multitude of dreams there are vanities and many words, but you should fear God. The vanity of riches. If you see the oppression of the poor and the violation of judgment and righteousness in the land, do not marvel at the matter, for there is a high official to watch over a high official, and higher ones over them. Moreover, the abundance of the earth is for all, even a king depends on work in the field. He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver, nor he who loves the harvest, with its abundance. This also is vanity. In the abundance of good things they who eat them also increase, but what virtue does the owner have from them, except to see them with his eyes? The sleep of a servant is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. There was a sickness I saw under the sun, wealth kept for its owner to his hurt. That wealth shall perish in painful distraction, and he begets a son, but there is nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return, to go as he came, and he shall take nothing from his labor that it may go with him in his hand. This also is a painful sickness, for as he came, so shall he go, and what is his gain, for which he labored for the wind? All his days are in darkness and sorrow and in much anger, sickness and gall. Behold, I have seen good, it is a fine thing for a man to experience goodness in all his labor in which he toils all the days of his life that God has given him, for it is his portion. As for every man to whom God has given wealth, possessions, and authority to eat from it, to receive his portion, and to rejoice in his labor, this is the gift of God. For he will not remember the many days of his life, because God distracted him in the merriment of his heart. There is an evil I have seen under the sun, and it is abundant among men, a man to whom God shall give wealth, possessions, and glory, so he lacks nothing for his life from all the things he shall desire, yet God does not give him power to eat of it, but a stranger consumes it. This is vanity and a grievous sickness. If a man begets 100 children, and he shall live many years, however many the days of his years shall be, yet his soul is not to be filled with goodness, and he also has no burial. I say that a miscarried child is better than he, for it came in futility and departs in darkness, and its name shall be covered with darkness. Though it has not seen the sun or known anything, it has more rest than that man. Even if he lived 1,000 years twice, but has not seen goodness, do not all go to one place. All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet his soul is not satisfied. For what advantage does the skilled man have over the unskilled man, since even this poor man knows how to keep himself alive? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the soul. This also is vanity and is the choice of one's spirit. If anything has come to be, its name has already been used, and it is known what man is, that he is unable to dispute with him who is stronger than he. Since there are many words that multiply vanity, what advantage does man have? For who knows what is good for man in his life? For all his days in life, which pass like a shadow, are spent in vanity. Who can tell a man what will happen under the sun after he is gone? Notes from the previous page. 4:8 Our Lord spoke of this kind of person in the parable of the rich fool, Luke 12:16, 21. 4:10 What a marvelous picture of encouragement in the church. 4:12 The threefold cord may be linked to the virtues of faith, hope, and love, 1 Corinthians 13:13. 4:13-17 In a striking reverse parallel, Christ stands in contrast to the old and senseless earthly king while also fulfilling him, for he was born poor and was raised up from the house of prisoners to be made king. Yet those who come afterward do indeed rejoice in him, bringing right sacrifices of praise into his house. 5:14-16 A description of life for a man who has no hope, whose labor is only to satisfy his hunger, who labored for the wind. But in the light of Christ we have hope, joy, health, and peace of mind. 6:1-12 Life is no more than a shadow, v12. No matter what we achieve on this earth, we cannot take it with us when we die. At the same time, the Christian may rejoice, for true wisdom is Christ. The soul that labors for the food of immortality is covered not in darkness but in light, and lives not 1,000 years twice, v6, but forever, John 6:55, 58. The value of wisdom. A good name is better than good olive oil, and the day of one's death than the day of one's birth. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of drinking, for this is the end of every man, and the living will take it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by a sad countenance the heart is made better. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of senseless men is in the house of merriment. It is better to hear the rebuke of a wise man than for a man to hear the song of senseless men. For like the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of senseless men. This also is vanity. Oppression makes a learned man dizzy and destroys his vigorous heart. The end of matters is better than their beginning, and a patient man is better than one haughty in spirit. Do not be hasty in your spirit to be angry, for anger rests in the bosom of senseless men. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? For you do not inquire wisely concerning this. Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and profitable to those who see the sun. For wisdom in its shadow is as the shadow of silver, but the abundance of the knowledge of wisdom will give life to him who has it. Behold the works of God, for who can put in order him whom God made crooked? In the day of what is good, live in that goodness, but in the day of trouble, consider also that God made one harmonious with the other, that a man may not find out anything that will come after him. I saw everything in my days of vanity. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is an ungodly man who remains alive in his vice. Do not be overly righteous, nor be overly wise, lest you be confounded. Do not be very ungodly, nor be hardened, lest you die before your time. It is good that you lay hold of this and do not let your hand let go of it, for the one who fears God, all things will turn out well. Wisdom will help the wise more than 10 rulers in the city. For there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and does not sin. Also do not take to heart all the words people say, lest you hear your servant cursing you. For very often he will act in an evil manner against you, and many times he will afflict your heart, just as you have cursed others. I proved all this by wisdom. I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. As for what is far off and exceedingly deep, who will find it out? I and my heart went about to know, and to search and seek out wisdom and the account of things, and to know the foolishness, hardness, and madness of the ungodly man. I find more bitter than death the woman who is a snare and her heart a net, and her hands are her chains. A man who is good in the sight of God will escape from her, but the sinner will be caught by her. Behold, I found this, says the preacher, adding one thing to the other to find out the reason, which my soul still seeks, but cannot find. I found one man among 1,000, but a woman among all these, I have not found. Except behold, I found this, that God makes man upright, but they have sought out many schemes. Who knows the wise? And who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and a man shameless in face will be hated. Obey those who rule, keep the king's commandment, and spare no effort for the sake of your oath to God. You will go out from his presence, but do not stand with an evil thing, for the king will do whatever he pleases. Insofar as a king has authority, he speaks, and who will say to him, "Why will you do this?" He who keeps his commandment will not know an evil thing, and a wise man's heart knows the time of judgment. For to every matter there is a time and a judgment, because the knowledge of a man lies heavily upon him. For there is no one who knows what is going to be, for who will tell him how it shall be? No one has the authority over his spirit to withhold his spirit, and no one has authority in the day of his death. There is no discharge in that war, and ungodliness will not save those given to it. I saw all this and gave my heart to every work done under the sun wherein one man has authority over another man to injure him. Death visits all. Then I saw the ungodly buried in their tombs and brought from their holy place and praised in the city for what they had done. But this also is vanity. For no controversy comes quickly against those who do evil, therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully determined within them to do evil. Whoever sins does evil from that time on and for a long time afterwards. Nevertheless, I know that it shall be well for those who fear God so long as they have fear before him. But it shall not be well with the ungodly man, he will not prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he does not have fear before God. There is a vanity that is done on earth, there are the righteous as when the work of the ungodly overtakes them, and there are the ungodly as when the work of the righteous overtakes them. I said that this also is vanity. So I praised merriment, because a man has nothing better to do under the sun than to eat, drink, and be merry, for this will be present with him in his labor all the days of his life that God gives him under the sun. For this reason I committed my heart to know wisdom and to see the distractions done on earth. Nevertheless, he receives no sleep, day or night. Then I saw all the works of God, that a man cannot discover how he does his work under the sun. No matter how much a man labors to discover it, yet he will not find it out. And no matter how much a wise man may speak of knowing it, he will not be able to find it out. For I gave my heart to all this, and my heart saw all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. Whether it be love or hatred, man does not know it, although all things are before him. Vanity is in all things. One event happens to the righteous man and the ungodly man, to the good man and the evil man, to the pure man and the impure man, to the man who sacrifices and the man who does not sacrifice. As is the good man, so is the man who sins, as is he who takes an oath, so is he who fears an oath. There is this evil in everything done under the sun, that one event happens to all. And truly the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, madness is in their heart while they live, and afterwards they go to the dead. For who has fellowship with all the living? There is hope, for a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love, hatred, and envy have now perished, and they have no portion forever in all that is done under the sun. Go, eat your bread with merriment and drink your wine with a happy heart, for now God is well pleased with your works. Let your garments be always white, and let your head lack no oil. Experience life with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life which he gave you under the sun, all your days of vanity, for that is your portion in life and in the labor you performed under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for there is no work or reasoning or knowledge or wisdom in Hades where you are going. I returned and saw under the sun that, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor wealth to men of understanding, nor fame or to men of knowledge, for time and chance will happen to them all. For man also does not know his time, like fish taken in a cruel net, like birds caught in a snare, so the sons of men are snared in an evil time when it falls suddenly upon them. Notes from the previous page. 7:1 Good olive oil symbolizes here the acquisition of earthly wealth, but in the New Covenant, it symbolizes the acquisition of the Holy Spirit. 7:5-10 In Christ, the song of senseless men has been turned into the worship of the faithful, and the latter days, not the former days, are better. v10. So much for the good old days. 7:16 The overly righteous are like the Pharisee who went up to the temple to pray, Luke 18:10, and the overly wise may be likened to the wise of this world, 1 Corinthians 1:18. St. Paul writes, Therefore let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall, 1 Corinthians 10:12. 7:18 See Romans 8:28. 7:20 In the Orthodox funeral service we say, For there has never been a man who has lived and has not sinned. 7:26-29 We are all vulnerable and easily led astray by anyone with evil intentions, be it a man or a woman. But on a deeper level, the woman who is a snare speaks to the fallen Eve, and through her to all humanity, for she is our mother. There is indeed only one man that God made upright, and that one man is Christ our God, who broke the curse of death and freed us from our sins. 8:1-5 Christ's face shone like the sun on Mount Tabor, Matthew 17:2. The faithful also shine with his ineffable light, as Christ himself said, You are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. Therefore, let us work to acquire the wisdom that is Christ our King, that we might shine as lights in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, Philippians 2:15. 8:8 Only Christ has authority in the day of death, and it is his power that releases and delivers us from that war. 8:11-12 Intentional sins are not a one-time event, the consequences continue for a long time. Wisdom is better than strength. I saw this wisdom under the sun, and it is great to me. There was a little city with a few men in it, and a great king came against it and surrounded it and built great barricades around it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and by his wisdom he rescued the city, yet no one remembered that poor man. Then I said, Wisdom is better than strength, but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. The words of the wise are heard in quietness more than the shouting of those who rule in foolishness. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much goodness. Dead flies will corrupt the preparation of seasoned olive oil, and a little wisdom is more valuable than the glory of great foolishness. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but the heart of a senseless man is at his left. When a senseless man also walks along the way, his heart will fail him, and everything he considers is foolishness. If the spirit of the ruler rises against you, do not leave your place, for soothing puts an end to great sins. There is an evil I saw under the sun when an offense proceeds from a ruler. The senseless man devotes himself to great heights, and rich men shall sit in a lowly place. I saw servants on horses and princes walking on the ground like servants. He who digs a pit will fall into it, and he who pulls down a wall will be bitten by a serpent. He who removes stones will be worn out by them, and he who cuts down trees will be endangered by them. If the axe head falls off, then his countenance is troubled, and he will put forth more strength, and in that case skill is of no advantage to the man. If the serpent bites when it is not charmed, then there is no advantage to the charmer. The words of a wise mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool shall swallow him up. The words of his mouth begin with foolishness, and the end of his talk is evil madness. A senseless man multiplies words. No man knows what is to be, and who will tell him what will be after him? The labor of fools wears them out, for they do not even know how to go to the city. Woe to you, O city whose king is young and whose princes feast in the morning. Blessed are you, O land, when your king is the son of nobles and your princes feast at the proper time in strength. They will not be dishonored. Because of laziness the roofing will be brought low, and through idleness of hands the house will leak. They make bread for laughter, and wine delights the living, but all will listen to money. Do not curse the king, even in your conscience, do not curse the rich, even in your bedroom, for a bird of the air will carry your voice, and a bird in flight will tell the matter. Notes from the previous page. 8:15 This trilogy of words, eat, drink, and be merry, is also used by Jesus in the parable of the rich fool, Luke 12:19. 9:1 There are two ways to go through life. Those righteous and wise are in the hand of God, unregenerate man is on his own. 9:4 The living dog is an image of the Gentile believers, Matthew 15:26, 27, and the dead lion images the nation of Israel. 9:7-8 Here is an OT image of the Eucharist, baptism, and chrismation. 9:11 The victory in both race and battle belongs to the faithful. 9:14 The little city is the world, and the great king is the devil who besieged it. 10:1 When we say, there's a fly in the ointment, the saying comes from this verse, oil can be translated ointment. This image illustrates how sin affects creation. 10:4 Do not leave your place, the wise man must not stray from his determination to glorify God. 10:15-17 The city can be seen as an image of the kingdom of heaven, ruled by Christ the King and his princes, v16, the faithful. Christ calls the scribes and Pharisees fools, v15, for being too blind to see the truth, Matthew 23:17, 19. Cast your bread upon the water, cast your bread upon the face of the water, for you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil there will be on the earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they pour it out upon the earth, and if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who sees the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the way of the wind, or how the bones grow in the womb of her who is with child, so you do not know the works of God, even all things whatever he will do. In the morning sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good. The light is sweet, and it is good for the eyes to behold the sun. For if a man live many years and rejoices in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that comes is vanity. Follow God in your youth, be glad, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes, but know for all this that God will bring you into judgment. Therefore remove anger from your heart and pass by evil with your flesh, for youth and lack of understanding are vanity. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come and the years arrive when you say, while the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened, and the clouds do not return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the men of strength are led astray, when the women who grind the grain become idle because they are few, when the women who look out the windows will remain in darkness, when the doors are shut in the marketplace, and the sound of grinding is low, when one rises up at the sound of a sparrow, and all the daughters of song are brought low. Also they will look from the height, and there are terrors in the way, when the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper grows fat, and the caper plant is scattered. For man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the marketplace. Remember your Creator until the silver cord is removed, and the golden flour is pressed together, and the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, and the will runs together at the well, then the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity. Because the preacher was wise more than others, he taught the people knowledge, and the ear will search out his well-ordered proverbs. The preacher sought diligently to find desirable words, and what was written is upright, they are words of truth. The words of the wise are like pointed sticks, like nails firmly fastened, they are given from the collections and abound from them by one shepherd. Moreover, my son, guard yourself, for there is no end to the making of many books, and much study is weariness of the flesh. Hear the conclusion of the whole matter, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole man. For God will bring every work into judgment, including everything that has been overlooked, whether it be good or evil. Notes from this page. 11:1-10 This chapter teaches we are not to hold onto that which we have been given, but give it away. 12:1 The days of your youth reminds us to follow the Lord from the earliest years of our lives. 12:5 The caper plant grows on rocky cliffs, stone walls, and in cracks and crevices of rocks in the Middle East. 12:8 Though the preacher ends on a negative note, with all is vanity, the positive message of this book is contained in 12:6, remember your Creator. Or as Proverbs teaches us, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, Proverbs 1:7.